Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Quartet Lesson 10 Part 1 live stream. Tonight we are covering Nounにとどまる、一方で, and Nounに達する. These are the colors we use for all of our live streams. We have light blue for the new grammar points, and these are all colors for vocabulary words that show up that we think are important or that are on the JLPT but have not yet showed up in Genki or in Quartet. We mark them with these colors. So our first section tonight is doesn't exceed with Nounにとどまる, Nounにとどまる. So it's very easy to use this. All you need to do is have a noun and then write にとどまる. And what it means is that this noun does not exceed something. The way that Quartet teaches this is that they're covering generally numbers and percentages. So it's saying it does not exceed this number or percent. So for example, if it was 10%, 10% にとどまる means that it stops at or it does not exceed 10%. And Quartet only covers numbers, and most of our example sentences tonight will be with numbers and percents and things like that. But with that said, there are some usages of todomaru, or some ways you can use todomaru, which do not involve numbers. So keep that in mind. Quartet only gives you the number usages, but that is not the only way you can use it. It just means that something stops at this point, this line, or that something does not exceed that line. And it generally, if it's numbers, implies that the numbers may be small sometimes. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the example sentences. Our first one is 今月の食費は3万円にとどまっている. So this month's food cost is not exceeding or does not exceed 30,000 yen. The reason I said is not exceeding is because it's in the teiru form. We're still in the process of this month. So breaking it down, we have 今月の食費. 食費 is food cost. Food costs. If you see that kanji hi at the end with different kanji before it, it's usually a cost of whatever that the first kanji is, or the first word. So 今月の食費 is this month's food cost. Wa, that's the topic, emphasizing what comes next. 3万円. So 30,000 yen. 3万円にとどまっている. It's not exceeding, or it's stopping at 30,000 yen. 去年の選挙の投票率は 56% にとどまった. So, as for last year's election participation percentage, it did not exceed 56%. So, breaking it down, we have 去年の選挙の投票率. So, 去年 is last year. の選挙 is election. の投票率. 投票 is to vote. 投票率 would be voting percentage. And I've translated that here, since we already have election, participation percentage, or voting percentage. Percentage of people who voted. 投票率は, that's the topic. 56% にとどまった. It stopped at or did not exceed 56%. And this is in the past tense because this is what we're talking about last year. So just whatever we're talking about, we'll use the tense for that. If it's this month, teiru works. If it's last year, the past tense works, things like that. And of course, you can use any formality here that you'd like. とどまっていました or とどまりました or, anything, depending on the situation. Our next sentence is 健康診断の費用は毎年1人2万円にとどまっている. So as for the cost of a physical, every year it is not exceeding 20,000 yen per person. So let's break this down. We have 健康診断, which is, it's usually used for like a yearly physical. Most companies make people get a yearly physical every year. And I know in the States, we just call that a physical. So I've translated here as just a physical. Well, you could also translate it more fully as a physical examination, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the yearly one. 健康診断, that's a physical common word, very common word. の費用, so the cost. は, that's the topic. 毎年, every year. 一人, one person. 2万円, 20,000 yen にとどまっている. It's not exceeding 20,000 yen per person every year. 1000人に行われた調査では、20代の日本人のマイカー所持率は 14% にとどまったという結果だった. So the result of a survey conducted on 1,000 people was that the percentage of Japanese people in their 20s who own a car, or their own car, did not exceed 14%. It's pretty low, eh? So breaking it down, we have 1000人に, so in the direction of 1,000 people, 行われた調査, so a survey that was carried out on 1,000 people, では, via that survey. では、that's the topic emphasizing what comes next. 20代の日本人20代の日本人 is 20-year-old Japanese people のマイカー所持率 so people who have their own car マイカー is it's literally just 和製英語 it's Japanese English basically that means my car so the percentage of people with their own car 所持 also means their own car is 14% so 14% にとどまった It stopped at or did not exceed 14% という結果だった It was that result. That result was what happened. The result of a survey conducted on 1,000 people was that the percentage of Japanese people in their 20s who own a car or have their own car did not exceed 14%. 今日見た安藤さんの恥ずかしい失敗は私の心の中にとどめておくことにしよう So as for Ando-san's embarrassing failure I saw today, I think I'll decide to keep it to myself. So I will literally, this is, I will decide to not let it exceed or go past my own memory. So I mentioned earlier that Quartet only covers really numbers and percentages, and up to this point in our example sentences, we've also only covered numbers. But as you can see here, it can be used for other things as well. So let's break this one down. We have 今日 today, 見た so thing I saw today, 安藤さんの恥ずかしい失敗 so the embarrassing failure of Ando-san that I saw today, は that's the topic, 私の心の中 so in my heart or in my mind にとどめておく so I'll stop it up or not let it go past my mind or my heart ことにしよう so let's decide to just keep it inside. I'm not going to tell anyone. Is essentially what that means. And you can use とどまる in this fashion. All right, that brings us to the story, the continuing story. So far, we had a young guy that's working at a company and he is telling us he had really bad luck ever since something that happened. And he went to a drinking party with his company and on his way home with a junior person in his company below him, they ended up at a shrine. A small purple shrine that shouldn't have been purple because it's a famous shrine in their town and it's a big famous shrine with a big red gate, but for some reason it was a little purple shrine tonight and it seemed weird, but for some reason they ended up in front of the offering box. His coworker threw in a 5 yen piece and he had nothing in his pocket, so he threw in a game center ticket, and that seems to be when everything went crazy. At the end of the last episode, after throwing in the game center ticket, he passed out. So, and then he woke up in the last section, in the last lesson, he woke up and went to work super late. And, well, he made it on time, but he was freaking out because he was really late and he had to run in his clothes from last night. And now he just ran into his junior, the person he was hanging out with last night, and found out that whatever happened last night was not a dream. So, let's get Yuki over here, and we'll pop through the dialogue. Okay, お願いします. Let's get you a little bit more over here.
ちなみに、先輩、部長に何か話してくれましたか？今日、部長からメールが来て、昇給してくれると言っていました。なんだと？俺の給料は3年間20万円にとどまっていて、今後上がる気がしないのに、なぜ特にできることがない後輩が昇給されるんだ？いや、何も話してないよ。と後輩に答えた。
All right, so we'll go full speed here, and then I'll go over it piece by piece. So.
ちなみに、先輩、部長に何か話してくれましたか？今日、部長からメールが来て、昇給してくれると言っていました。
All right, so by the way, senior, once again, senior. Did you talk to the department head for me about something? Today, an email from him came, and he said he will raise my salary. So, ちなみに, by the way, senpai, of course, is someone above you in some position, whether it's in school, the school you went to, or you're in the business in this case. So, senpai, senior, I've translated it as. 部長に, so in the direction or from 部長. 部長 is the department head, the head of a department in the company. 部長に何か話してくれましたか? So, did you talk to him about something for me? That's the てくれる part. 今日, today, 部長から, so from department head, メールが来て, so an email came, email is just メールが来て, 昇給してくれる。So 昇給する means to raise one's salary. 昇給する。So 昇給してくれると言っていました。He said he was gonna raise my salary. Alright.
おーなんだと俺の給料は3年間20万円にとどまっていて、今後上がる気がしないのに、なぜ特にできることがない後輩が昇給されるんだ。いや、何も話してないよ。と後輩に答えた。
What the? My salary hasn't gone over 200,000 yen per month in 3 years, and despite not feeling like it will go up in the future, why would my junior who can't do anything special be given a raise? No, I didn't say anything actually, I responded. So, なんだと means what the heck, basically. なんだと俺の給料 so my salary は that's the topic 3年間 so for 3 years 20万円にとどまっていて so it had not exceeded 20 months so 200,000 yen which is about around $2,000 maybe a little bit less and because of that amount we know that it's monthly 今後 so from now on 上がる気がしない so 気がしない means I don't feel like something will happen, and the thing I don't feel like will happen is 上がる, so go up. I don't feel like it will go up. のに, so despite not feeling like it will go up in the future. なぜ why? 特に nothing in particular. できることがない so having nothing that he can do special. 後輩が so my junior who can do nothing in particular. 昇給されるんだ so why would he get a raise? いやNo, 何も話してないよ. I didn't say anything. And that yo is actually. と後輩に答えた. I responded. Alright, so question time. お願いします。
あなたの地域の天気はどんな様子で、最低気温は何度にとどまっていますか?
So what's the situation, the weather situation where you're at in your area? For example, what is the maximum temperature today or the lowest temperature today or at some point in the past or whatever future you can talk about tomorrow as well. And that will determine the tense of the question. For example,
長野の冬の天気は寒くて最高気温はマイナス2度にとどまっていた日があった。
So the weather in Nagano in the winter is very cold and there was a day where the maximum temperature did not exceed minus 2 degrees. So we went over that one a little bit ago, so I'm not going to break it down now. Let's go for the next one.
3月10日のバンコクの天気は暑くて最低気温は27度にとどまっていた。
So on March 10th, no Bangkok, so Bangkok in Thailand, no tenki wa, so the weather in Bangkok on March 10th was hot and 最低気温 so the lowest temperature は27 so 27 degrees にとどまっていた it did not exceed and that means didn't go below right didn't go below 27 degrees it didn't exceed 27 degrees because we know it didn't go below it because it's the lowest temperature for the day 最低気温は27度にとどまっていた it didn't exceed that line of 27 degrees so how about you where you're hanging out at what's the weather like today. On the other hand, with 一方で on the other hand. So this one it's not more complicated, but there's a few more situations that you can use it in than the last one. It just means on the other hand. It can also mean meanwhile. And if it's used talking about someone doing things, it means that they're doing these two things at the same time. But anyway, you can use it on its own at the beginning of a sentence if it's referencing the previous sentence. You can use it after a short form verb, after an e adjective on its own, after a na-adjective, but you need the na particle or dearu between the na-adjective and ippode. And for a noun, you need dearu between it and ippode. So ippo it's going to be contrasting basically two ideas or two situations or states of being between two different conflicting ideas about a single subject, right? So there will be one subject and these are two different ideas basically about that one subject. Or like I said, if it's a person's actions, it'll be at the same time. So they do those two things at the same time. You can think of like meanwhile in English can also be used that way. It can mean it can mean on the other hand, like meanwhile can be like on the other hand, but it can also mean that meanwhile or at the same time, this other thing was happening. So let's go ahead and jump into our example sentences. We have 日本でパンの人気が高まる一方で、外国では日本米の人気が高まっている. So the popularity of bread in Japan rises. And meanwhile, in foreign countries, Japanese rice is rising in popularity. So breaking it down, we have 日本で, so in Japan, パンの人気, so the popularity of bread, が高まる, so goes up, 一方で, and on the other hand, or in meanwhile, 外国では, in other countries or in foreign countries, and that was adding some more emphasis to what comes next, 日本米, so Japanese rice, の人気, so the popularity of Japanese rice, が高まっている, it's going up. So the popularity of Japanese rice is going up, and on the other hand, the popularity of bread is going up in Japan. So you can do that in any direction you'd like, it still works. So the popularity of bread in Japan rises, and meanwhile in foreign countries, Japanese rice is rising in popularity. All right, next one is, E メールを使う会社が増える一方で、ファックスを使い続ける会社もある. So companies that use email are increasing, but on the other hand, companies that continue to use fax machines also exist. So breaking it down, we have イメールを使う会社. So companies that use email. イメールを使う会社が, they're the subject. 増える一方で, so they're increasing. 一方で, so but on the other hand or meanwhile, ファックスを使い続ける会社. So companies that continue to use fax もある. They also exist. It's true. Most companies still use fax here. All right, next one. おばあちゃんは先生である一方で画家でもある. So grandma is a teacher and at the same time also a painter. So we have a person and their actions or things they do. And when you use 一方で in those kind of situations, it means that at the same time they are also this thing, or at the same time they also do this thing. In this case, it's describing her different professions or the things that she does for a living. So おばあちゃんは, おばあちゃん grandma is the topic. おばあちゃんは先生である. So she's a teacher, 一方で, and at the same time, because it's a person's actions here, 画家でもある. 画家 it's artist or painter, but generally talking about an artist who does paintings. 画家でもある. She's also a painter. 東日本で納豆は人気の食べ物である一方で、西日本では食べたことがない人もたくさんいる. So natto is a popular food in Eastern Japan. But on the other hand, or at the same time, there are many people who have never eaten it in Western Japan. So breaking it down, we have 東日本で, so in Eastern Japan. 納豆は, so natto is a type of food. It's the topic. 人気の食べ物である. So it is a popular food. 一方で, and on the other hand, 西日本で, in Western Japan, では, and the wa is emphasizing what comes next, 食べたことがない. So does not have the experience of eating it. Never ate it. 人もたくさんいる. There are also many people who have never eaten it in Western Japan. 海外の果物は食べやすくて小さい一方で、日本の果物は値段が高くて大きくて甘い. So foreign countries' fruit is small and easy to eat. And on the other hand, Japanese food is expensive, large, and sweet. Breaking it down, you notice here that nothing here is generally negative or even necessarily positive. These don't have to be like comparing and contrasting necessarily positives and negatives. It can just be giving two sides of the same coin, basically, like in this situation. Fruits here are this way and fruits in this place, on the other hand, are a different way. So it doesn't have to be negative versus positive. So 海外の果物, so foreign fruits from other countries. は the topic, 食べやすくて easy to eat, 小さい and they're small. 一方で and on the other hand or meanwhile, 日本の果物, so fruit from Japan or Japanese fruit, は that's a new topic, 値段が高くて it's expensive, 大きくて they're big and 甘い they're sweet. All right, our next sentence is an adjective. We have 新築の家が人気な一方で古い空き家が増えている. So I didn't mention how we were connecting the ippo de in the earlier sentences. You notice we had some nouns before, so we needed de aru before before ippo de after the noun. This one's an adjective, so we need na or de aru between ninki and ippo de. So shinchiku is new, generally a new building. So shinchiku, I believe it's an N1 word based on these colors. So shinchiku, N1. Shinchiku no ie, so a house that is new. Ga ninki, so it's popular. Na ippo de. And on the other hand, or meanwhile, I guess meanwhile would make more sense for this sentence if we're translating it in English. Furui, so old. Akiya. Akiya is a common word that means an abandoned house or an empty house. The house has been left empty, no one's living there. Akiya ga fueteiru. They're increasing. So new houses are popular, and meanwhile, old vacant houses are increasing. And that is very true. There's so many old vacant houses just lying around in Nagano City and all the cities all over Japan. But because, whoever lived in it made it passed away, like 7 people in their family own it, and getting them to sell it, all of them to agree, because they all have to agree, all 7 or 50 or whatever, people who actually own the house, getting them all to agree to sell a place is almost impossible, but nobody actually wants to live there either, so it's a big mess. Lots and lots of empty houses all over Japan, and yet brand new houses are very popular. Most people only want to live at a brand new house if possible. Anyway, 日本で買えるチーズは種類が少ないが、一方で外国ではたくさんの種類のチーズが売っている。So in Japan, the varieties of cheese you can buy are few, but on the other hand, in foreign countries, many different types of cheese are being sold. So here you'll notice that we use the ga, the but, ga, at the end of the first predicate here. And that's perfectly fine. You can use different conjunctions before ippo de, like demo or ga, things like that. Those are perfectly fine before ippo de to add a bit more contrast to it. So 日本で, so in Japan or via Japan, 買えるチーズ, so cheese you can buy, wa? That's the topic. So cheese you can buy in Japan, wa? 種類が少ない, so there's few varieties. There's very few varieties. Ga, but 一方で, on the other hand, 外国では, so in other countries, and emphasizing it, what comes next with the wa, たくさんの種類, so many varieties, no cheese, so cheese of many varieties, が売っている, are being sold, or they sell. All right, that brings us to the continuation of our story. Let's get Yuki over here. お願いします。
はい。そうなんですか。じゃあ、なんででしょうか。特に何もしていませんけれども。嬉しそうに後輩は言った。この野郎。と答えないように、一方で唇を強く噛んで、笑顔で返した。なぜこんなことに、でも俺も昇給してくれるかもしれない。早くメールを読みに行こう。
Alright, breaking it down. Let's go fast, full speed for one time.
そうなんですか。じゃあ、なんででしょうか。特に何もしていませんけれども。嬉しそうに後輩は言った。
Is that so? Well, then I wonder why. I haven't done anything in particular, but Junior said, looking happy. So breaking it down, we have そうなんですか. Is that so? じゃあ, well then, なんででしょうか? I wonder why. 特に, in particular, 何も, so nothing, していませんけれども. So I didn't do or haven't done anything in particular, but 嬉しそうに, so looking happy に後輩は言った. He said, while looking happy. That thing.
この野郎と答えないように一方で唇を強く噛んで笑顔で返した。なぜこんなことに。でも俺も昇給してくれるかもしれない。早くメールを読みに行こう。
So that I wouldn't respond with a you son of a, and you know what comes after that. Instead, I bit hard on my lip and responded with a smile. Why would this happen? But I might receive a raise too. Let's go and read my mail quick. Okay, so breaking it down, it's この野郎. It means son of a, you know what. と答えないように, so that I didn't respond with you son of a, 一方で instead, or on the other hand, or instead. At the same time, either way. 唇, so my lip. を, that's a direct object of 強く噛んで, so I bit it hardly. I bit it hard. Bit my lip hard. で、笑顔で返した. I responded with a smile. なぜこんなことに Why would this happen? なぜこんなことに Why would this kind of thing happen? the happened is being implied here. でも but 俺も me too 昇給してくれる so give me a raise or I can get a raise かもしれない maybe 早く really fast メールを読みに行こう let's go and read my email fast is what he's saying to himself here. Alright, so question time.
その人は〇〇である一方で〇〇でもありますという形であなたや周りの人、タレントやキャラクターもかを紹介してください。
So please introduce yourself, someone you know, a character, anime character, TV character, famous person, doesn't matter. Using the structure, their name は何々である一方で何々でもあります。So for example,
ピーター・パーカーは高校生である一方でスパイダーマンでもあります。
So Peter Parker, he's the topic. Peter Parker は高校生である。He is a high school student. 一方で So on the one hand, スパイダーマンでもあります。He's also Spider-Man on the other hand, right? Next one is
大学の教授は先生である一方で研究者でもあります。
So the university professor, so 大学の教授は先生である一方で So he's a teacher on one hand and on the other hand, 研究者でもあります He's also a researcher. So please introduce someone you know or a character using the same structure. To reach with noun に達する to reach. So this is just like, in its simplicity, like our first section today with にとどまる. This one is instead に達する. A lot of the grammar points in this lesson of Quartet are dealing with numbers. Now, に達する, Quartet is also teaching this in relation to numbers, percentages, and things like that. But, just like with にとどまる, に達する can also be applied to other things, not just numbers. So we have, I think, most of our example sentences dealing with numbers and percentages in this section, but we also have a few examples that are more general things. So you just attach it to nouns, noun or numbers. Noun に達する ta, and it's a ta with a small tsu, する ta する, and that means to reach some number. And if it is numbers, generally speaking, it's implying that that number is felt to be a large number. It's a good amount, a big amount. So that's one other thing to keep in mind here. So let's go ahead and jump into this one. The very first one is actually not a number. So A 君の英語力はネイティブレベルに達している. So A's English ability has reached. So it's the ている form here that has reached native level. A 君の英語力はネイティブレベルに達している. Good for you, A. So A 君の英語力 is English ability or power. So A 君's English ability は that's the topic. Native level. So native level, it's just the English, right? Native level に達している. It has reached. So it's in the state of reaching. When you reach native level, you're native level. So we can use the ている form, the change of state ている form. So に達している. Change of state, it has reached native level. Our next sentence is 1月のガソリンの値段は1リットル180円にとどまっていたが、3月の値段は1リットル190円に達した。January's gas prices did not exceed 180 yen per liter, but the price in March reached 190 yen per liter. So we have とどまっていたand に達した in the same sentence here. Let's break it down. We have 1月のガソリンの値段. So the price of gasoline in January. 1月のガソリンの値段は that's the topic. 1リットル. So 1 liter. 180円. So 180 yen. That's about $1.60. にとどまっていたが. So it did not exceed 180 yen. But が3月の値段. The price in March は that's the topic. 1リットル 1 liter 190円に達した. So it reached 190 yen. And I think it's going up even more. Our next sentence is 現在 ESO, it's the name of a game, をプレイしている人数は200万人に達しているそうだ. So at present, the number of people playing ESO, the game, has reached 2 million people, apparently. It's a real set, but that's active accounts, not necessarily playing it a single time. So 現在, so at present. ESO, game. That's Elder Scrolls Online. It's the abbreviation of Elder Scrolls Online. Game を direct object. プレイしている人. Nins. So that's the amount of people. は that's the topic. 200万人. So 2 million people. 200万人に達している. So it has reached 2 million people. そうだ. Apparently. Alright, our next sentence is ジョジョのジョータロウのスタープラチナのパンチの速さは高速に達している. So the speed of Jotaro's star platinum from JoJo has reached the speed of light, apparently. Did you know that? JoJo's punch is at the speed of light? Sounds painful. So breaking it down, we have JoJo no. So JoJo is the name of the anime. No Jotaro, that's the name of the character. No Star Platina, that's the name of his ability, his stando. Star Platina no Panchi. So the punch of Star Platinum's, of JoJo's, Jotaro's Star Platinum, his punch, the punch of that person. No Hayasa. So the speed of the punch of Star Platinum, which is Jotaro of JoJo's stand. Wa, that's the topic. Kosoku, so the speed of light. Ni tashiteiru, it has reached the speed of light. Our next sentence is ある調査で節約のためにランチを食べないという答えた20代の労働者は5割に達したそうだ. So apparently, according to an existing survey, the number of workers in their 20s who responded, in order to save money, I don't eat lunch, reached 50%. That's a real stat. Real stat. ある調査で、according to an existing survey で、節約のため, so for the purpose of saving, 節約のために、ランチを, so lunch, を that's the direct object, 食べない, do not eat. So for the purpose of saving, do not eat lunch. と答えた20代の労働者. So 答えた is responded, 20代の労働者. 労働者 is workers. は that's the topic. 5割. So 割 with a number before it means, wari is just like, it's like adding a 10, multiplying by 10 basically. So 5割 is 50%, right? 2割 would be 20%, I believe. 9割 would be 90%, 90%. So 5割 is just 50%. に達したそうだ. Apparently, they've reached 50%. How about you guys? Did any of you skip lunch to save? That brings us to the final dialogue for today, and I'm sorry I still was not able to finish this story. It's going to be it's probably going to be 2 more lessons before I can finish the story. I just don't see any way I can finish what I want to show you guys, or not show you guys, but not to sound artsy there, but to finish my story. Anyway, let's go ahead.
パソコンのスイッチを入れてからメールを開けるまでだいたい5から10分くらいがかかる。だから待っているうちにコーヒーを作ってゆっくりデスクに戻った。椅子に座ってパソコンを見つめた。メールのアイコンをクリックして20秒経ってやっとインボックスに達した。部長からメールが入っている。大きく呼吸して部長からのメールをクリックした。開くのを待っているとき、ワイシャツにコーヒーのシミがついていることに気づいた。
大変だね。はい、full speed for this part お願いします。
はい。パソコンのスイッチを入れてからメールを開けるまでだいたい5から10分くらいがかかる。だから待っているうちにコーヒーを作ってゆっくりデスクに戻った。
So after pressing the on button on my computer until I can open my email, usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So while waiting, I made coffee and returned slowly to my desk. So breaking it down, we have パソコンのスイッチ. So the switch from my computer, basically the on switch. を direct object. 入れてから。So after スイッチを入れる means to turn something on. So after turning my computer on, メールを開ける. So be able to open email. まで. So until I'm able to open email, だいたい approximately or about 5から10分ぐらい. So about 5 or 10 minutes がかかる. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes. だから, so 待っているうちに while I was waiting or while I'm waiting, コーヒーを作って、I made coffee and ゆっくり slowly デスクに戻った。I returned to my desk.
椅子に座ってパソコンを見つめた。メールのアイコンをクリックして20秒経ってやっとインボックスに達した。
I sat in my seat and stared at the computer. I clicked on the email icon, and after 20 seconds passed, I finally reached my inbox. This guy's got a slow computer. Pretty normal for a computer in this country, I think. So, 椅子に座って、so I sat in my seat and パソコンを見つめた. So I stared at my computer. So 見つめる is a common word. Apparently it's not on the JLPT, but while I say that, I believe it showed up in my JLPT N2 deck recently. So it may be N2, but Jisho marks it as a common word that's not on the JLPT. It may be N2. Anyway, パソコンを見つめた. I stared at my computer. メールのアイコンをクリックして, so I clicked on the email icon and 20秒経って, I waited, or 20 seconds passed. やっと finally インボックスに達した. I reached my inbox. 達する can of course be used for things like this as well, not just numbers. So インボックスに達した. I reached my inbox finally.
部長からメールが入っている。大きく呼吸して部長からのメールをクリックした。開くのを待っているとき、ワイシャツにコーヒーのシミがついていることに気づいた。
There's an email from the department head. I took a big breath and clicked on the mail from the department head. A little repetitive. When I was waiting for it to open, I noticed the fact that there was a coffee stain on my white shirt. His luck is perfect. So, 部長からメールが入っている. So there is mail from the department head. 部長から, so from the department head. メールが, there's an email, subject. 入っている. It's in the inbox. 大きく, so big. 呼吸して, so I took a big breath. And 部長からのメール, so the email from department head. We probably could have just said メール or そのメール, that email をクリックした. I clicked on it. 開くのを, so the thing which was opening, のを待っているとき, so while I was waiting, for it to open, ワイシャツに, so on my white shirt, コーヒーのシミ is a common word that means stain, so coffee stain が気づいていること、ついていること、sorry。コーヒーのシミがついていること。So the fact that there was a coffee stain on my white shirt に気づいた. I noticed. All right, so wonder what's in that email. Question time for this one is...
あなたの勉強や努力や趣味の時間は何時間に達していますか?
So how much time have you reached in either your studies or your hobby or anything you're working hard on? So, for me, it's...
アンディの日本語を勉強した時間は約7000時間に達している。
So, アンディの日本語, so my Japanese, を勉強した時間. So, the amount of time that I've studied Japanese, that's the topic, 約 approximately 7000時間に達している. So, it's reached approximately 7,000 hours. It's probably more. I don't really know. Estimate. はい、Yuki.
私の ESO のプレイ時間は170時間に達しています。
Yuki recently started playing ESO and her playtime has reached 170 hours. So, 私の ESO のプレイ時間. So, Yuki's time playing ESO. That's the topic. 170時間に170時間に達しています。So she's reached 170 hours. How about you? Your hobbies, your study time, how many hours have you reached with that? よろしくお願いします。また次のビデオで会いましょうね。
はい。
バイバイ。
Planning to use these books to learn Japanese in 2022?
We explain all the grammar from these books and more here on YouTube in detail. And on ToKiniAndy.com, we have tons of extra grammar explanations, interactive practice exercises with Yuki and I, native shadowing exercises so you can get practice speaking even when you're by yourself, tests, and even progress bars to track your progress through the book. We also plan on beginning to add tons of level-appropriate immersion material throughout 2022. We even have a new exclusive community for members where they can ask questions, help each other, and even play silly Japanese word games. Over 1,800 people have already utilized the ToKini Andy and Yuki premium content. Join the community today and kickstart your Japanese learning journey.